Welcome back, episode 2 of Formula. I'm here with Molly Simpson, national champion, one-time Olympian from Canada. How's it going?
Good. Yeah, really good. And thanks for having me on. I'm excited and yeah, always love to do a good podcast.
Perfect. Let's start. How's your day going?
Good. I'm currently here in Mission, BC. So I do my training in Abbotsford, and currently kind of residing here in Mission. And yeah, so had some training this morning on the track, and we'll also have some training in the evening as well. So yeah, been good so far.
Very nice. So is this like your off-season training part, or is off-season done and gone?
So yeah, so off season is finished. So now we're actually starting to ramp up into we're in race season, but now we're starting to get a little bit more focused on some World Cup events coming up in June. So I guess I would say it's starting to get even more busy. So we started usually this season is March to November. So it started in March, and now things are gonna get a little bit busy here.
Very nice. Where are some of like what destinations you're looking forward to this summer?
Yeah, definitely. We have our world championships in Australia in July this year. Definitely looking forward to going there. And then we actually have a World Cup event in China, which I'm really excited about. Never been to China before. So I think that will be, yeah, really cool just because it's the first time there's been kind of this big BMX event in China. So I think it's going to be really exciting.
Is it just starting to get bigger in Asia, or has it always been big over in Asia?
I would say it hasn't been big in Asia, so I think that's also why it's exciting is because there hasn't been, a big event like this, for a long time over there, and I think the reason why we're going there is exactly that, is we're trying to, grow the sport and, as well as, maybe make some prize money a little bit larger, and I think, there's been some past races in China, and they've actually supplied kind of a greater bonus for, that podium finishes. So maybe that potentially could be um, something on the line. Is maybe there'll be some more money at this World Cup in China. So hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, for sure. Because you read all about it, it's like with Chinese, I don't know, like with China government, seems like they pay their Olympic athletes so much more money to get like tops or on podium, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. And so we're kind of hoping, yeah, that maybe that will spark some media and increase that prize money for us. So we'll see. So that's in October. So a little bit of ways to go till then, but definitely an event I'm excited about.
Then you went to your first Olympics in 24. How was it being in, I don't want to call it a bubble, but it was still like very isolated, you know, I feel?
Yeah, for sure. Um, Definitely kind of the training, leading up for the Olympics, I guess it felt like that, in terms of, sacrificing, family time or, hanging out and seeing friends. We really just had to, lock in and focus for, the Olympics, and so I guess I felt isolated that way, but I was in, a really good place and surrounded by amazing people, and I'm extremely grateful for the team I have, so that just made it a bit sweeter and honestly, easy.
Yeah.
And so just that whole experience was really great for me. And it's crazy to think that we're already 2 years away from the next Olympics.
LA, yeah. So have you always trained out of Vancouver or Abbotsford or no?
So I pretty much made the jump to move here in 2022. So from Red Deer, Alberta, originally, and of course was doing my training there, and then just kind of made the switch out here because the national team resides here. So we have our track coach, our gym coach, and chiropractor kind of all in the same area here. And so the majority of the national team athletes kind of came to this location. And so I guess I would say it's the place to be. So yeah, I guess since 2022 I've been here, and before that it was just at home in Red Deer.
No, for sure. And being anywhere but Red Deer is an upgrade. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I totally second that. I mean, yeah, kind of glad I got out of Red Deer. So
Yeah.
I love it. I love it though, but yeah. Yeah.
Um, Then I want to talk about just your experience at Olympics and everything about it being in sorry I'm blanking on the word. Not like what hotel, but your living situation, and like your day in the
Mhm.
Olympics, like your routine.
For sure. So our actually situation was a little bit different because the BMX venue was, I think it was an hour from Paris. So we ended up staying in a satellite village, which essentially was a hotel. Um, and I was actually pretty bummed about that because I really wanted to stay in the athlete village. But they did a really good job of kind of making the hotel seem like the Olympic Village. So, it was decorated and my room was all done up Canada. And we had a few other countries in the hotel as well. And I think it was New Zealand was with us. Um, and so it was a bit different that way. And I definitely wish the venue had been closer. But fortunately, we did get to have a few days in the actual Olympic Village, so we did get to see it. We just did get to stay there. And so, kind of looking forward to Los Angeles because the BMX venue is closer. So we will be in the Olympic Village. But again, like I did have a few days there and it was, one thing that was really shocking was the food hall or the food court. Like the amount of options you could choose from in terms of like cuisines and everything was pretty cool, was pretty insane. So that was awesome. And then of course seeing the apartment buildings, it was, each building was a different country was really cool. And just walking around and then, seeing other athletes and kind of thinking to yourself, the only people that are in this village right now, like, are Olympians. And so looking at it that way was really cool. And like, we were just such a small group of individuals, and then we were all together. So that was really cool.
And I find it so cool because, like, yeah, sure, most of these people are Olympians, right? Or, I mean, all of them are Olympians, but most of them, like, especially in the smaller countries, they still have a day job go to, like, right after.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, and totally. Like, I just, again, like thinking about everybody's, different experiences and the sports they're in. And it's just like we all have one thing in common. And, that is just being a high performance athlete at what we do. But um, yeah, I was definitely on the hunt to find like Simone Biles or Shelly Ann Fraser Price, like in the Olympic Village, like just these icons. And to know that like you were walking around with these icons was pretty cool.
Then, honestly, I think you can make the argument for most decorated Olympian. Have you ever met up with Summer McIntosh before, or is that on your bucket list, or
So I guess I've seen her from afar. So yeah, at like the opening ceremonies, that was a whole nother amazing experience. Anyways, yeah, she was there. Didn't have the chance to talk to her, so I guess I kind of seen her close. But I was chatting with Andre DeGrasse and Ellie Black, a few other really cool Olympians, and that was really cool. So for LA, definitely would like to, try and catch up with Summer because she seems like an amazing athlete in person.
have you ever been interviewed by Devin Haru from CBC yet, or?
I have not, and that's a goal of mine actually. I would like to be interviewed by him. So hopefully in LA we can make that happen.
I think his Olympic coverage is just stunning, because I obviously I can't be at my TV for 3 weeks at a time, but just, like, I have
Yeah.
him on my phone, and boom, 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 anytime I need to know.
Yeah. No, he does a really good job of it. So yeah, and I hope that he does a lot of coverage again for Los Angeles, and I'm sure he will, but totally agree. Like definitely represents us really well.
Then I didn't even know this till I was doing more research, prepping notes, last night, and I didn't even know if then you can remind me of a year that you actually had a setback, let's call it that, and then
Mhm.
everything kinda paused for you.
For sure. Yeah, so in end of 2022, it actually had happened on my 20th birthday. So it was quite the quite the birthday. But anyways, it was just kind of a medical setback. I had my wisdom teeth removed, which is obviously a super common surgery that people get. Yeah, essentially, long story short, I ended up getting an infection on the bottom teeth that were removed. And so essentially infection got to the point of where we needed multiple surgeries to get rid of that infection, and two of them ended up being unsuccessful or unsuccessful. And so, yeah, I was, placed in the ICU for about a week, and they were just having a really hard time controlling the infection. And so essentially through the whole process, I had lost 15 pounds and, lost all my muscle. And, I couldn't speak or couldn't talk because I had a ventilator down my throat and a feeding tube. So that was extremely challenging. So essentially just laying there, feeling hopeless and just couldn't believe that it was from, such a common surgery of getting your back wisdom teeth out. So it was just shocking, really shocking for us. And I say us as in my family. Um, and yeah, it was just a really hard time because, losing all that muscle and also my kidneys were starting to fail. So they were starting to worry about other things. And yeah, it just felt like it was never ending. And then one day, we went back into another surgery, ended up being successful. Couple more days go by, and then they were finally able to pull that breathing tube out, which felt awesome because then I was, able to speak and talk to my family because I couldn't. And so that was, a surreal day for me. Was, it felt like there was light at the end of the tunnel. And so yeah, that was tough. But of course, looking back at it now, I really, only think it made me stronger for sure.
Did you ever have a moment after you could finally realize what happened? Did you ever have a moment that, "Shoot, maybe my career is done," or did you always have that mindset that you were gonna get back to it?
I think maybe at one point I did, and I think it was kind of the day where, they were starting to talk about my kidneys failing. That was when it was like, okay, this is really bad. But I don't know. I like you said, I think I still had that hope of, I knew I was gonna come out fine, and I knew that I wasn't gonna give up for sure. I don't think I lost hope, but I definitely think there was thoughts of, what is this timeline, or am I going to get out of the hospital? And um, you never want to hear anything like that in terms of like your organs and stuff. So it was pretty serious. um, but yeah, I don't think I lost hope. I think just the hardest thing was seeing my family. They just were so upset, and I just couldn't speak to them, and I couldn't communicate to let them know that this is going to be okay and we're going to be fine. So that was really challenging. I actually had to write on a piece of paper for that week. That was my only form of communication. And so yeah, it was tough. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you, like, find a niche of your sport? Growing up, everybody rides a bike. How did you get that realization that you're like, "Alright, maybe I can turn it into a career?"
Yeah, like it's so true. It's such a niche sport. And the reason I started was I had a cousin who had raced. And so kind of knew a little bit about BMX when I was younger, but not too much. But the BMX track in Red Deer is actually kind of hidden around a bunch of trees. And so
Is that one
um,
by the landfill?
no, it's not by landfill. This one's right by it's right by the river, so the Red Deer River.
Oh,
So anyways, yeah, so right by the river and then kind of hidden by some trees, so it's not very like visible or anything, but in the fall when all the leaves are gone, you can really see it. And so that's kind of what happened was we would drive past it and I'd be like, asking my dad like, "What is that down there? What are these people doing riding their bikes over these dirt, lumps or jumps?" And so yeah, he ended up taking me down there. I was 10 years old and I tried it, and then I was like, "Yeah, we gotta buy a bike, Dad." So we ended up buying that loaner bike they let me borrow. I think it was like I don't know, he'll tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe it was like $250 or $300 or something. At the time, like expensive, right? And so we bought it, and then yeah, ever since that it was like I was hooked.
so was your cousin your inspiration, or who's your inspiration to get you into a sport?
I think I've always my parents for sure, my parents, I would say, they've just always both of them were athletic. My dad actually was a bodybuilder, so I thank him for my genes. So thanks, Dad. Yeah, just I grew up playing all sports. It was soccer, baseball, hockey. I played hockey right till I was 15, basketball in school. And so just always wanted to be an athlete and always wanted to go to the Olympics since a young age. And I didn't know what sport, but I knew I wanted to be that level of an athlete. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. And then, I mean, that was a whole other experience was, school growing up was hard because I was always on the go with racing and, kind of felt like, to be honest, my friends didn't really understand what I was doing. And, it was almost like they had a little bit of envy because I would always be traveling and missing school and getting exams exempted. And then it was funny, as soon as I qualified for the Olympics 2 years ago, I feel like some of them kind of realized, what I was working towards. And then it was almost like this kind of surreal moment of them kind of being like, wow, like, she made it, right? So that was pretty cool. Um,
Mm,
yeah.
no, for sure. Cause like, you see, like, your friends in hockey, basketball, be like, "Alright, they're gone for a tournament," you know? But then it's like, "What do you mean she's gone for BMXing," you know? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly, exactly, and, like, always traveling, and it's just like, yeah, like, I missed a lot of school, but I feel like I missed a lot of school for a good reason, and, it was for my dream, so I really enjoy the world championships, um, just because I guess it's second to the Olympics, in terms of how big the event is. So I would say world championships and, they're always in really cool locations. Like last year was in Copenhagen, Denmark, which is an amazing place. And so, this year we're in Australia for it. So I'd say that's my favorite event, but also another good event that I do every year is the Canadian National Championship. And that one's one of my favorites just because, of course, the family's there watching me and all the little kids, boys and girls, are there. And so it's cool to come in and race, but then also to hang out with the kids and try to, inspire them the best that I can because I know, where they're at and I know that our sport is niche and I want to show them, that you can make it to the Olympics and, become an awesome athlete. And so yeah, I would say Canadian national champs and world champs are yeah, they're up there.
Which event did you do? It was recently. Was it Houston or it was somewhere in Texas, right?
It was yeah, so I did one in Houston in March and then I just came back from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Mhm.
And so those races are the US series. So the US puts out a pro series. And so I might be wrong. I think there's 12 race weekends of the pro series. And so all the pros, Americans, Canadians, sometimes we get Europeans come in as well. We'll fly down and do these events. So those are some just great events, great competition, and some pretty decent prize money as well. So yeah, I just came back from Tulsa, Oklahoma, was competing on that series, and actually next weekend I'll head to Nashville, Tennessee for
Cool.
another yeah, US race, and Nashville's really fun. I don't know if you've been there, but it's pretty cool.
Not yet. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, you should go. I recommend everybody needs to go to Nashville.
Are you in the Alberta Hall of Fame yet, or are they still working on that one? Or
I'm not, but I've done a few events at the Alberta Hall of Fame. Um, and so yeah, I hope one day maybe I'll get my name in there. So but yeah, the Alberta Hall of Fame's actually in Red Deer, right? So
yeah,
yeah,
right off the
it's
highway.
cool.
Yeah.
Right. We practically live right beside it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You say Nashville. So, how do they work the American Pro Series? Is it like a points based off standings, and then after your 12 races, and they do first, second, third? Is that how it works, or?
Yeah, pretty much. So it's the 12 races. I could be wrong. I think it's anywhere from 8 to 12 races a year. I should know that. But anyways, it's your best 8 finishes. So they take your best 8 scores whether you've got say you've won 4 races and then you've got a couple seconds, and then you've got, maybe a couple thirds, and then they put it all on a point system. And then there's a final race at the end of the year in November, and you're scored. Um, you go in with your top best scores, and then they have that final race, and then it determines kind of who is the US Pro Series champion. And so it's kind of um, a year long of trying to be as consistent as possible on that series because the race that really matters is in November. Yeah.
Um, then obviously, like, I'm super new to a sport. What's like the top
hmm
3 BMX countries off top of your head if you had to like guess based off where what competitors are coming from?
Yeah. So number one, I would say would be um, France, and then I would go with Netherlands, and then I would go with Australia.
You know, I
So
would have guessed like Netherlands and Australia, they would be up there for me off, I guess, just because like
yeah,
you see with skateboarding, for example, and those people are insane at it.
true. True. No, I
Yeah.
think I think a lot of good athletes, yeah, come out of those countries. In Europe in general too. Like there's so many good athletes from Europe. Um,
Yeah.
but I would say those are the best cycling sports yeah, cycling countries. I mean, I think in Netherlands there's more like bikes than there's for sure more bikes than cars. Like everybody's on a bike. In like Amsterdam or the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So they're yeah, they're pretty good.
Have you ever been over there?
I have, yes. We actually have one of our World Cup races in Netherlands coming up in June, so we'll be there. And obviously, the Dutchies will be really fast because it'll be kind of their home territory. They're will be our biggest competition, and then our first World Cup's in France. So again, another really good country. So the French are really really hard to beat.
So, obviously, when you go, it's for a work trip, but do you ever get, like, lots of free time over there, or is it, like, a day or 2 and that's it?
I would say we actually get some decent free time. Normally, we fly in a week or a week and a half early before the event, and so we get some time to do some touring and kind of relaxing. And our coach, he does a really good job about that actually because he also wants to tour around and do stuff. So then he kind
Yeah.
of, if we have a car, a van or something, he'll take us. And so we do get to see some pretty cool things. Some teams do it differently. Some national teams want to be a little bit more, we got to stay in the hotel this week. We need to rest and make sure we're, eating the same meal every day. And I feel like Team Canada would do it a little bit differently and we make sure we're having fun and not just locking in immediately, right? So it gets serious once kind of Thursday hits. So we race always Saturday and Sundays, and so yeah, when Thursday hits it's kind of like, okay, now we gotta get ready.
Who's your coach and how did he meet? Like, what showed him out?
Yeah, let's shout him out. So his name's Adam Muse. So he's from Maple Ridge, so close to where I am right now. And he's been the national team coach for I think over 10 years, for sure over 10 years. And he's really shaped me as an athlete, but also as a person as well. I've learned so much from him. And yeah, I'm just really grateful to have him as my coach. Um, and I went through actually a couple private coaches kind of in COVID years. So 2020, 2021, and a little bit of 2022, I actually wasn't working with him. And so, kind of middle of 2022, we, made the plan and I fully immersed myself into his program. And to this day, I think that's the best decision I've ever done. And so, yeah, he's a great guy. And he's actually, the type of coach. For example, we made a bet 3 years ago now, and it was if I win a World Cup event, he would have to dye his hair red. And so had red hair for a really long time. So that was really cool. Yeah.
What was your preparation, during COVID years? Because obviously you're more isolated. So just walk us through, like, your preparation during COVID years.
Yeah, COVID years was tough, but, what really helped me was I had a few friends that I would still train with and, of course, with the isolation and everything, we had to be careful, but I was fortunate enough to kind of have a close group, and we knew that obviously we were, being safe, and
Yeah.
so mostly it was a lot of gym training because I have a little personal gym at my house, and so they would come and use it because the gyms were closed. And then it was a lot of sprint training, which is training on the bike outside on the road, and that's kind of practicing your spin rotations. And so we would sprint different distances and kind of race each other. Because yeah, the tracks were closed, so we couldn't ride. So all we could do was, kind of take it back to the good old days, riding on the street. And yeah, so it was tough. Like I remember, wondering if we were ever gonna be able to, travel or even race again. But I had a really good friend of mine. We trained together and made each other better during that time. And so his name's Carson Kowalski. Shout out to him. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was tough. I think it made everybody a little bit stronger in their own way, maybe. You know, so
Yeah. And then you got some big local sponsors. You got Save On Foods, Motors, and who else do you have? And who's your dream sponsor one day?
Yeah, so definitely, yeah, some good local partners. There's actually Red Deer Motors.
Mm,
So Red Deer Motors, yeah, they supplied me with a vehicle, and so it's a 4-year deal. So till LA, so they're kind of my biggest local partner and family friends as well. The owner is great. The business is awesome, and I think my family has bought every vehicle we have from there. So we're also, customers as well. So they
yeah.
really pulled through after the Olympics and kind of supported me that way. And then another dealership actually is Red Deer Toyota. They helped me out a little bit.
Wait.
Um, and yeah, and then, some more of my, dad's friends as well that kind of own businesses. They've kind of, pitched in, which is I'm extremely grateful for. And then, in terms of dream sponsorship, I would love to get a Red Bull helmet one day.
Yeah.
I think that's every like action sport person's dream sponsor would be Red Bull. I
Yeah.
just feel like if you're a Red Bull athlete, like, people know you and clearly you're very good. So that's the
Yeah.
dream one. Yeah.
Um, then I'll be honest. Um, you basically answered every question I have. Yeah, for sure. No, thank you for your time, Molly. It went great. I wish you best of luck this summer.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Have a great day.
Appreciate it. All right, you as well. Thanks again.